how do you think this, because I see a lot of companies doing exactly what you're saying, where they don't focus on the customer success piece until there's like a retention issue. And then they're like, oh no, better try and throw some resources there. How do you think if somebody's starting from scratch and kind of building the whole revenue organization from the beginning, kind of prioritizing who you hire where and stuff, does it
Mhm.
all happen at once? Where do you start to, fill in that customer success gap?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, I mean, if you have the luxury of doing this right from the beginning, then what that would look like is as you're bringing on your sales team, you're going to look at that. First, your founders are usually your salespeople when you're starting at the very scratch, right? And so as they're holding those relationships, I think once you get to the point where the founder is now, or the original executive team is now being pulled in and too much of their time is answering customer questions, that you get your first little kind of support hired, right? And so you get your support hire, you set them up. You get another one, you set them up, and then you start looking for your leadership. And the thing with leadership with early startups is oftentimes you're looking for a player coach. But with the evolution of customer success, I encourage a lot of CS leaders to have the conversation with, we need a timeline and we need agreed upon areas that I'm going to be able to focus on growing this team. So ideally, if you've got funding done correctly and you have a board that understands, like they've had, companies where customer success has worked before, you don't hire a player coach, right? You get the revenue to bring in a senior leader who can strategically orchestrate the growth of CS and bring in the next members, which would probably be your onboarding or your implementation team members, and then your customer success managers, in tandem with that or immediately after.
Mm-hmm. And how do you think you make that justification to a board who's maybe one of these like gung-ho sales driven, boards that, of course, you're going to tie stuff to revenue, but they kind of believe like, no, the money is all coming from net new business. Like pour the resources on there. How do you think you make your arguments to put the funding into
Well, I
customer
think
success?
I think more and more boards understand the importance of it. So that helps. But let's face it, like when you're looking at series rounds, your angel investing, your series A is going to be more around land grab, right? And your series B is where you start looking at, and often way too late, your retention numbers. And then you don't have a CS team oftentimes it's set yet. And so a lot of boards know going in that they should start to manage to reduce churn and they should start to have customer success. But hey, if you want just like a cheesy trick, put your sales guys on it, put your sales girls on it and say, hey, we care about relationships here. They're the only ones that can do it. People start backing really quickly the idea of bringing in people to manage relationships when you take away time from sales.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good way to go about it.
Yeah. So there's the right way, which I told you first, and then there's the cheat that I told you secondly.
Yeah, great. Tell me about changing up customer success compensation and pay and all of that stuff so that it is tied to a revenue target.
Yeah. So look, here's one of the hard things about growing a team. Here's a hard thing about hard things. There's lots of them, right? You're going to bring in a leader who's going to be somebody that you're going to want to have had that experience of building something from scratch, right? Like my sweet spot in the majority of my professional career up until the last half of the last decade was building the blueprint for customer success teams at startups. So coming in and designing that. And you want somebody that's had that kind of experience because they know they failed there already and they know what to do. And then you're growing out your team. What happens is when you start to put in the right formulas and you start to get the right CS tools in place and you're using data integrity to help you scale correctly, then you're going to end up starting to bring in this more senior mindset that we're talking about that has kind of this hybrid of relationship management, high EQ, high technically savvy, like understands the product inside and out, operationally minded CSM that's going to be paid handsomely like your salespeople are, right? And so often what you find is organizations feel a loyalty to those first employees and they force them into the senior position because they're like, they've been with us since the beginning 6 months ago. But if you have the right conversations with your employees, they understand that this transition is going to happen. And so when I came in as a leader, I would look at the 2, 3, 4 people that were dedicated there. And I would say, we're going to have a wave of hires that are going to come in above you. But you are going to always be one of the first employees here. And as you grow your career, which my goal is to help you, you can grow in that direction. But yeah, you pay them handsomely like you do your sales team. And I'm talking like a great base pay with a variable comp that is revenue generated. So I like to look at net revenue retention and other metrics like that for paying out big bonuses. And I said big.
Yeah, big. It's got to be big. Absolutely.
It has to be big. In this market, it has to be big. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Now more than ever. Absolutely.
More than ever.
So where do you think, if like different companies are tackling this, from an early stage, huge variation in deal sizes, what do you think are the different things that you need to kind of look at within your own company to understand who to hire on this CS team, how to structure their comp, like what percentage,
Mhm.
all that stuff. Maybe let's like walk through kind of building it up. Somebody who's listening now is saying like, okay, now's the time to actually invest in this team. I need to do that now. Where do they start?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like all things, data needs to drive it. You need to really have an understanding of like where you're going to invest. It's going to start out as a cost center, and you need to have leadership coming in that's helping you bridge that gap between cost center and revenue generating team, and that it's expressing that to you, right? That they're savvy enough with being able to give you good indicators of when that's going to happen, just like you would have in sales and other departments. But I think if you're really looking at how to do this, you really need to make sure that you're looking at the value of your customers as you set this up, right? Like customer success teams need to be built around what you're trying to execute against. So if you have product that is, low ARR, MRR type of product, and you've got thousands and thousands of customers, those customers still matter. But what you want to do is you save your money and your scalability, right? If you want to get, you can get couch change by making process changes and other things. But where you really get the dollars to hire great talent for your top tier customers is you scale the lower tiers to be more self-sufficient. And that's where I coach companies to get really granular. I'm talking about communities where customers can answer their own questions. I'm talking about using software out there like WalkMe and others where you create like, reusable content. I mean, especially in today's day and age, customers want to watch their onboarding program in their pajamas on a video. Like nobody likes to stare at other people anymore. I don't. Like I even have my, no, I can sometimes. But you know what I'm saying? Like you make it really scalable. And the more money you save on repeatable processes for like your bottom and mid-level tiers, the more money you have for that white glove treatment that you're going to need for like your top customers.